when Clueless, when Cher calls that girl a Monet, where she looks great from far away, but up close you're like, ugh. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Victoria. I am a 22-year-old woman of transgender experience, and I make mostly LGBT content here on YouTube. If that's your thing, click that subscribe button down below so you will never miss out on a new upload and you'll join the family. Now, as most of you know, I started my transition over 8 years ago, back in 2012 at the age of 14. And there were even less resources out there than there are now for transgender women. I was going on YouTube every day looking up all sorts of different transition tips. Overall, I am very satisfied with my transition. I love the person that I turned out to be, and I'm super satisfied with the physical results. But that being said, I certainly learned some tips and tricks along the way that would have made my transition go a lot more smoothly. So I made a list of 7 tips that I wish I had known when I started my transition. Before I jump into today's video, I just want to say nobody's transition looks the same as anybody else's. Everybody's body reacts differently to hormones and surgery. Not everybody wants the same thing, and that is okay. That is what makes our community so beautiful and diverse. There is no right or wrong way to transition. These are just the things that I found for me would have made my experience go so much more smoothly. So without any further ado, let's get on into today's video. Tip number 1 is to start your transition as soon as you're ready, but to go slowly. This might sound kind of contradictory, but what I mean is, as soon as you're ready to come out to people, as soon as you're ready to start hormones, by all means do that, because the sooner you do, the more time you have to become the woman that you are. But that being said, you don't have to go from male presenting to female presenting all in one day. There are all sorts of different intersections and gray areas in between that. So androgyny is a great step in your transition. For me, I let my hair grow out as long as I could without my parents telling me to cut it. Back when I was a kid, I would wear hoodies and skinny jeans every day because I saw my female friends wearing that and my male friends wearing that. Granted, they were gay, but you know, you don't have to show up to your job wearing a suit one day and a dress the next. There are all sorts of different intersections there. I remember I wore a lot of clothes from the women's section that were just regular t-shirts, but the way they were cut was a little more feminine. So that just kind of added to my androgynous look. Also, my parents weren't in full support of me wearing girls' clothes all the time. So when I first came out, it was easier for them to see me in a normal t-shirt, even like this, or, you know, a hoodie and jeans. And like I said before, starting hormones early is great because not only does it stop your body from producing testosterone and helps you to transition, but if you start before you're fully out, you're not rushing the changes, and it helps you to develop that feminine body under the hoodies or whatever that you're wearing. So your body and mind has a little bit more of a slow transition from one binary to the next. Going off that, tip number 2 is to start laser and electrolysis as soon as you possibly can, people. Start it now. Call up, go on Groupon. I am telling you, you need to start laser hair removal as soon as possible if you have facial hair that you're trying to get rid of. I transitioned at 14, so I had some facial hair. I come from a long line of very big hairy men, so I am lucky enough now that I am not that big hairy man, but for a period of time, that was absolutely a possibility. So as soon as you're ready, book laser hair removal and electrolysis, even if it's before you come out, especially if it's before you come out, because then you can work on it slowly and build it up over time. These things are very painful, very time consuming, and most of all, very expensive. So I would highly recommend that you go on Groupon or look up different coupons for laser hair removal and electrolysis. You can usually buy a package for a discounted price. I would highly recommend it. I have spent 8 years working on and off to remove my facial hair. I have gone to innumerable laser hair removal appointments, innumerable of them on my face and my body, and it made a huge difference. But because I transitioned so young and I was born with red hair, not all of the hairs were dark and coarse. So it still left quite a few hairs, and I have since gone to electrolysis to take care of that. Like I said, it is a costly process. It is a time-consuming process. And honestly, most of all, it is...
Did you hear that? Oh my God.
And most of all, unfortunately, it is a painful process. But I would have rather invested all of the time, money, and pain in that than wake up and shave my face every day, which is what I used to have to do. Trust me, it's just better if you get it all taken care of. I don't shave my face anymore. Paula, my electrolysis girl, if you're watching this, thank you so much for giving me the soft, smooth face that you see before you. Tip number 3 is to do your research. YouTube is your best friend. Google is your best friend. I didn't have anybody in my life to tell me how to transition. I didn't have a trans girl to talk to or even a trans person to talk to tell me how to go about doing this. All of it was just on YouTube, and there were even less resources out there than there are now. So research everything, whether it's makeup tutorials, how to grow your hair out, how to curl your hair, how to dye your hair, a lookbook of basic outfits. There are all sorts of different resources out there to help you. On top of that, research your state's laws for legal name and gender change. This sometimes can take quite a while to get an appointment. I know for me, when I got my name changed at, I think, 14 or 15 legally, probably 15, I had to stand in front of my town hall's probate court and explain to them why I wanted to change my name. It was kind of weird, but it took about an hour altogether, and I'm so happy. Trust me, there is no better feeling than being able to hand somebody your ID and have it say your name and your legal sex and not have to worry about it. Like when I'm at the liquor store or going into a bar, or I can't really think about what else you would need your ID for, but for any of those reasons, trust me, it's just so much better to get it all taken care of, especially if you are older and you have a passport and a driver's license and stuff. It's gonna take quite a while. Tip number 4 is to shop at thrift stores or to let your friends know that you're in need. One of the biggest startup costs of transitioning is to buy an entirely new wardrobe. I didn't think about it when I first came out, but you have to buy,
bras, underwear, jeans, leggings, hoodies, t-shirts, dresses, sweaters, cardigans.
it's like all sorts of different things. Keep in mind, you might want to focus on basics before you start developing your own style as a woman. If you're interested in seeing a basic lookbook for what your first shopping trip should be, let me know in the comments down below, because I would be super interested to do just a basic trans girl lookbook. But yeah, it's super expensive to go to somewhere like TJ Maxx or Target or whatever and get an entirely new wardrobe. That is way too expensive. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have thousands lying around. So I would highly recommend that you go to your local thrift shop and shop there. There are all sorts of different cheaper options and beautiful options. I got this t-shirt for $1. Like, there are great options out there for you. By all means, go and check them out. It is not worth spending an additional couple $100s on new clothes. Of course, some things like a good pair of jeans or new underwear and stuff might be better to purchase firsthand, but there is nothing wrong with shopping secondhand. If anyone tells you there is, fuck them. Also, let your friends know that you're trying to get a new wardrobe. I cannot tell you how many of my friends have just invited me over to look through huge trash bags full of their clothes and take whatever I want before they donate it. So yeah, let your friends know that you're in need, and please do your shopping at a thrift store. While you're at the thrift store, tip number 5 is to get clothes that fit your body and your age group and that add shape. For a lot of trans women, their breasts and their hips are their main concern when it comes to a silhouette. So things like, instead of getting a pencil skirt, I will get an A-line skirt because it adds more flare to the hips, helping it be equal to the shoulders. One of my favorite tips for back when I had an Adam's apple and I didn't have my breasts is I would wear a big scarf in the autumn or the winter, and it would not only hide my Adam's apple, but I would tuck it into my coat to make it look like I had breasts. There are all sorts of different tips for you guys. You can use pads. I always felt that pads were a little too draggy for me, but if you're insecure, by all means, add some breast forms, add some hip pads, whatever you need to feel comfortable. Also keep in mind that men's clothes and female clothes are very different in construction. Whether it is the hemline, the neckline, the sleeves, there are all sorts of differences in construction, and they're gonna make you look different. So I personally hate crew necks. I hate how they look on me. I think it makes me look really masculine. So I never buy men's crew necks. This could be considered a woman's crew neck, I guess. It's still a normal neckline, but you can tell it's a women's shirt. Also, you can tell from the sleeves that it is cut for a woman. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. Try, and even if you're shopping for androgynous clothing, shop in the women's department. I promise it will make a difference. Now, with that being said, tip number 6 is less is more. This applies to so many different parts of your transition. That can be your makeup, your femininity, your voice, your clothes, anything. Trust me when I say, the more effort you put in, the more makeup you're putting on, the more you're trying with your voice, a lot of the time, the more clocky you are. Because whether you look as fishy as possible, if you're going out in a full face of makeup, people are going to stare at you. And not everybody wants to be looked at for too long. Like when Clueless, when Cher calls that girl a Monet, where she looks great from far away, but up close you're like, ugh. Not all of us are like that, but I do want to say less is more. I used to wake up every day and go to an 8 a.m. class with a full beat face of makeup, flat ironed hair, extensions down to my hips, snatched outfit every single day. And while I looked good and I felt good, I felt uncomfortable because people would stare at me, whether it was because I was clocky or just because I was dressed like a supermodel every day for no reason. I drew a lot of attention to myself, and that made me super uncomfortable. I hardly ever wear makeup at all now. This is all my natural hair, but I wear makeup for being on camera and for Instagram and stuff. But in my day-to-day life, I hardly wear any makeup. And at this point now, I hardly get anybody staring at me. So when it comes to makeup, keep that in mind. You might only need a little bit of mascara and blush and you'll be ready to go out the door. This applies to your voice too. When I first started transitioning, I sounded like this, like I was always being very high up and it sounded really fake. And as you can tell from me talking, it sounds very strained. And while it was high and higher than my voice now, it sounds like I'm trying, and it made people look at me and be like, why does she sound like that? Now, my voice is by no means perfect now, but it's definitely more natural and it draws a lot less attention to me when I'm out. So trust me when I say less is more. You don't need to push it. You don't need to wear pink every day to let people know that you're a woman. A woman doesn't need to enter a room and announce to everybody that she's a woman. If you just go in head held high knowing who you are, trust me, people will follow. This leads me to my last and most important tip, and it is to be authentic. No matter what anybody says, no one person's transition is the same as anybody else's, and that is part of the beauty. You are transitioning to be your true self, and it's important that you sit down with yourself and ask, who do I want to be? Who am I? Not who am I modeling myself after, not who do I want to look like, but who am I as a woman? For me, yes, I am transgender. Yes, I did transition. I am also a YouTuber. I am also creative. I also love to cook. I am also a Pisces. I am, you know what I mean? Like there are so many more components to you than just being transgender. So ask yourself who you are and who you want to be. The most important tip that I have for you is to be authentically you. All right, guys, that is it for this week's video. And I just want to sum it up by saying no one transition looks the same. There is no right or wrong way to transition. The most important thing is to be true to yourself. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you like it, please give it a big thumbs up. You know, it helps out my channel so much. Leave a comment down below telling me your experience coming out if you are just starting, if you are years into it, or if you're just researching because you're curious. Please let me know. I love hearing about it and I love responding to you guys in the comments down below. I will link all of my social media in the description box down below, as well as my Amazon merch, Redbubble, and Teespring, where you can check out all of the LGBT merch that I have made just for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you're not already a part of the family, and click that bell so you're notified whenever I make a new video every Wednesday. And until I see you next, good luck. I love you. Bye.